So, how do you pronounce your last name? Schmidt?
Yeah, that's my real last name, but I go by Tim Ryan as an actor.
And what was it like when you chose that stage name, Tim Ryan? Was there a particular Tim Ryan? Because I remember I looked up another Tim Ryan on IMDb who died in like 1956.
Oh, I know. I always got confused with that one. No, that was no, but Ryan was my mother's maiden name.
Oh,
Irish first names. It was Timothy, Colleen, and Doreen, all with this last German last name. So
okay, okay.
mom
That's
wanted the Irish in there.
I love that. So you chose Tim Ryan to honor the memory of your mother. Was it also because like, and I've seen this with a lot of people who have changed their names in Hollywood. It was it like for fear of like people would find it difficult to pronounce your last name?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was fear, but it was just, yeah, it's complicated. And then you got to spell it. I mean, I'm still using it, the Michael Schmidt.
There we go. There we go. And I think that were you using it during the stand-up reel that I saw on IMDb?
Yeah, that was kind of a funny thing. I went to, I got married and my wife had the name, and we had a daughter and she had the name. And then I started thinking, well, who the hell am I fooling here? So I just was like, I'll go Tim Ryan, Michael Schmidt. And then someone else came to me and said, why did you do that? So changed back. I guess it was a midlife crisis or something like that. But now I'm back to Tim Ryan.
So I'm so glad that you came on. I mean, obviously, we contacted you because we have been my co-host Andrew and we've been recapping the TV show Family Matters, and we are on season two. And as we're recording this, we recently recapped the episode that you guest starred in back in season two, Fast Eddie Winslow, where you were the cowboy pool hustler Boyd Higgins. And can you talk about how you got that role?
Sure. And I have a very interesting story about that whole episode. But yes, I mean, just typical normal thing. You go into the casting and you do your thing, and then you got called. And I remember it was Tony Sepulveda was the casting director, and you'd been in for him for a lot, a couple of times for different things. And this came up. I think it's NBC, right? Was it an NBC show?
It was actually ABC.
ABC show. Yeah. The funny thing with this was most of the stuff that I had done up until then on TV or whatever had been dramatic. I wasn't really kind of like comedy kind of guy. But although on the other side of that, any theater stuff I had done, 90% of the time was always comedy. Just, you broke into TV on a dramatic show, and then, okay, that's who he is. He's going to be a cop, or he's going to be a fighter pilot or something like this on a, dramatic action type show.
Hmm. So what led to what led to this audition for something completely different? I mean, what was it something your agent recommended, or was it a different change of pace that you were looking for?
Oh, I wish I had that kind of control that I was looking for a change of pace, man. I was, who wants to hire me? That's it. You just
Yeah.
go in, and there was, I guess my agent knew that I could pull off some comedic stuff. So they, of course, submitted me. And then Tony Sepulveda, I'm sure, had seen me for a bunch of stuff afterwards, or not afterwards, but prior to. And he thought I could pick it up. Yeah.
I love that. Now, the whole uh cowboy demeanor of but
Boyd,
Boyd Higgins, the fact
Boyd
that
Higgins.
yeah, yeah, there you go. That he claims to be from Texas, the accent, all of that, was that already written in, or were you able to add some spice into that character that wasn't already written?
That's a good question. It's been a while, so I don't know if it was. I mean, it sure was written something like that he was faking or pretending. I probably put it on a lot more than maybe they had thought at the start, when it was written. But I always kind of had a facility with accents and characters like that.
I was going to ask. So I was
Yeah.
going to ask about your talent for accents. So Southern, and are there any other kind of accents that you can do?
I can pretty much do anything.
Wow.
I would say yes. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but if you wanted me to have a British accent, I could do that quite easily. But you could also do a Cockney accent, which is not the same, right, as your upper class British accent.
Yeah.
And then I would do German, because I could do a German accent. I worked for this German guy growing up. No, I'd done maybe off topic with this, but post Family Matters. I had done a one-man show some years after that. I guess I did it. Let me look. 2004. I probably played 20 or 30 different characters in that, with different voices and different accents. Whether it was someone from really thick New York Queens or something like that, and Southern, and on and on and on. But again, it was always something I could do. You had the opportunity to do in theater. You're kind of allowed a wider latitude in doing a character or doing something like that. Certainly in comedy as well. But,
Right. How did you get that talent for accents? Were you like traveling around the world often?
I don't know. I think I just listen. I just listen is all I can say. I actually did do a play many years. Let me think. It was prior to. Yeah, it was probably prior. It was called Bouncers. It was in L.A. and it was a big hit in L.A. and it was a British play about bouncers in a nightclub. So there are 4 actors that played the bouncers, the patrons that go to the nightclub, the girls that go to the nightclub, characters in a porno movie that they watch after hours. So you probably, again, played 10 different Brits, whether it was, again, an upper class Cockney or a girl or boy or whatever. So, and that was fun. And that was, they brought in, of course, a dialect coach, because they're going, okay, you're going to have to do a Northern accent. Now you're going to be, more of a Cockney accent and all that. And it just, yes.
No, I was gonna ask how that was getting coached with a dialect coach, because I mean I have some acting experience where that was part of it. Like I had to learn dialects and be coached through that. Did you find that fun? A nice challenge? Was it dreadful?
Oh no, it was great. It was great because there are always. I mean, when I first came to LA, I had a fairly thick New York accent, because I'm from New York. I'm from Staten Island, New York. So I came out to LA, and I immediately thought, okay, I don't really look like Stallone or Travolta, so I got to change. So I went to a coach, his name James Wilson. He used to teach at USC. He's retired now, but he would give you tongue twisters. So you had to do these tongue twisters without, because I would say dog, ball, off,
Mm-hmm.
and it's dog, ball, off, and he would give you a tongue twister to say, give me the gift of a grip top sock, clip drape, ship shape, tip top sock. So you had to, right. So you had to say that, because I would have gone, give me the gift of a grip top sock, clip drape, ship shape, tip top sock. So that kind of got you more facile with, the words in your mouth. But of course, there was always some word, and I always remember this, that you say in everyday language, everyday conversation.
Yeah.
And the one for me was tournament.
Oh yeah.
I was in a tournament. I said,
yeah, but I feel like that's the more correct way to say it, because TOUR, it seems like it should be said, like it should be pronounced as tournament instead of tournament. Tournament seems more like TER.
Well, so does dog. It's a dog. It's not a dog. It's a dog.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound. It sounds very New York.
Yeah, one of my exercises that I used to do as an actor, tongue twisters, and maybe you did this one as well. Moses supposes his toes are roses, but Moses supposes erroneously. Have you done that one?
I just had someone tell me that one. Moses supposes. Yeah, no, didn't have that one. He had a bunch of others though. That's the one I remember. Give me the gift of a grip top sock. Yeah, and they were designed specifically for the letters that were hard for me to pronounce.
Right.
Whether it was the R, or R, the O, the A, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I how do you do with words with like a KS at the end? Like for me, I have a hard time doing masks. I can't do that. I can do mask or masking, like a mask that you wear during COVID, but masks, I can't do the plural.
Masks? No, that doesn't trip me up. I don't think masks.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I love that.
So I'm interested. You guys are on the second season of Family Matters.
Correct.
Was there a show that you were doing the same sort of thing with prior to Family Matters? Were there other shows?
No. This is our first foray. This is our first foray into rewatch podcasting. Before that, Andrew and I used to do something in the style of an entertaining morning radio show as our podcast, where we did like a variety of pop culture topics and just riffed. And then once we saw that rewatch podcasting was becoming a big thing, particularly with 90s shows, it just made us think of our childhood and what resonated. And Family Matters was a show that we both really loved growing up, and we decided why not take a dive into it. And we've been having a good time, not only recapping the episodes, but talking to fantastic guest stars like you along the way. So it's been good so far, and we'll see how long we can do it, because it is 9 seasons.
Right. It's a long time. Yeah. Now, have you gotten some of the stars? Have you gotten Jaleel on there? Or Josh, or?
Not yet, not yet. I mean, we're hoping. So far we've gotten guest stars. We've gotten the director Rich Correll. We've gotten a writer from season 9, Beverly Hunter. So yeah, we're gradually, hopefully, getting to a point where we could get some of the main cast on.
Okay. Tell Jaleel this story.
Okay. Oh, is this a story that you were going to mention?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm doing the episode, and I haven't seen it in a while, obviously. But in the episode, we're down in the pool hall, me and these, pool players.
Yeah.
And Darius comes down with the kid that was his friend.
Yeah.
So they come down and right. They meet me. How you doing? Boyd Higgins, my friends, call him a buck, and all that sort of stuff. These guys were still kids at the time, so they have class and they're in school. They're set school.
Yeah.
So they go off somewhere and they're in school, and they have a gentleman who is standing in for Darius, and he comes down whatever the stairs are, and he and I shake hands, because they're doing the cameras, right? The 3 cameras, they're moving the cameras around, see how they're going to get the shot. Okay, you guys walk in, Standing comes over, we shake hands, and then he goes back. Director's like, okay, go back to 1. They go back to 1. He walks back to the entrance where they're going. I walk back to where I am, and I'm looking over at him, and all of a sudden it was like he was a marionette and somebody cut the strings. Oh, he just dropped. And my first thought is, that's crazy. How did he trip? I thought he was standing still. Anyway, all of a sudden people start getting crazy. What's going on? Everyone's rushing over, and they clear the thing. They clear the set. Doctor, guy had a massive heart attack and just died.
My God.
So
the stand-in for Darius Perry?
Yeah, and he was like 50 years old or something. He was an older gentleman, but he was, same height, same coloring, all this, and boom, he just like drops, and I'm like, what the hell? So I go out, I call my wife. I said, I think, because we don't know, of course, that he's died right away, right? That's emergency. Anyway, calling to talk to my wife. Yeah, like, I don't know. And this was taped it, right? Wow. So we're going to shoot the show. The kids are done. So.
Wait, so has this happened in front of the studio audience yet, or no?
Oh, no. This was still rehearsal.
Right.
So, maybe it's like 10, 11 in the morning because the kids are in school. Anyway, we get called back in and are told that, he passed away and, he died. So they put us all, if you've been on a set for recently. Comedy, right? So there's all the stands up there, right? Where the audience sits. So we're all up in the stands, the cast, and maybe some of the crew and stuff, and the producers. This was Miller Boyette. They're down there, and they say, you see them. They go, and look, we know that this is very tragic, and the kids. Some of the kids were really upset and crying. I mean, because they know these guys. They see these guys for at least a year and a half, 2 years now. They've been working with them. So Miller and Boyette, whatever they're talking, are going, they're very tragic, but there is a tradition in the show business that the show must go on, and we really think that and I would have sworn they did this, but you never know. They might have gone, what was his name again?
Wow.
That so-and-so would have wanted it that way. And it's tape day. So my thinking, is that they got together and they're saying, look, if we don't shoot tonight, we're going to have to bring everybody back. We're going to have to, pay for an extra week. We're going to have to, it's going to cross it. And it's not like one of the stars, died. So let's just push on through.
Wow.
And then they said, which I give them credit. They said, the show business, we have the tradition that the show must go on, but we're going to put up a big card at the end, in loving memory of, and the guy's name was John, because I remember Jon Andrew Franklin was
Wow.
the stand-in. So, and they did at the very end of the episode, in loving memory of Jon Andrew Franklin.
Oh my God.
Great, right, crazy. So I go out, and now I say to because I told her this thing happened. I call my wife again, and I say, no, we're going to tape the show. I said, but look, do me a favor. If I ever die on the set, everybody gets the day off.
Yeah, because like, okay, so there were crew members there, and was Darius the only one that needed a stand-in? So there was Rodney.
No, all the kids had to stand in.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Kids, but frickin' Jaleel, guy, smart as hell. And I remembered this too, was that when I shook this guy's hand, because we're working out the scene, shook his hand like I would shake Darius's hand in the scene. I was looking at him and going, man, he's sweating a lot, and it's not really that hot in here. Because I noticed he was really perspiring, and he was probably starting to have this, heart episode. But frickin' Jaleel, after that, he comes to me afterwards. He was probably not as upset as some of the other kids, and he goes, "You were the last one to see. You touched him. You shook his hand, and he died. What is that about?" The little kid. I'm like going,
So wait. So did Jaleel, Darius, and Randy, who played Rodney, did they eventually found out after the fact that the stand-in died?
Well, they knew. Yeah, they knew when they said we're going to go on with the show. Yeah, they told them right away. Wow. They all knew. No, they knew. That's why they had us all up there to make the announcement. And they couldn't just say, "Oh, we don't know what happened." But and I remember the one that played the grandma. She was quite upset. I don't remember what her name was.
Rosetta Lenoir.
Yeah, she was quite upset. I don't know if she had was a little closer, but it was a strange. I'd never had that happen before.
So the scene that you guys were rehearsing for, Rosetta was in that particular moment. Reginald was there as well.
They come in later. No, what we were rehearsing, it's hard for me to remember everything, but what we were rehearsing was when he comes in and he goes, "Hi." I think I said something about, "Boy, those guys really know how to use that stick." And he goes, "Oh," I said, "Hi, Boyd Higgins, but my friends call me Buck." And he says, "Eddie, Winslow, but my friends call me Eddie." One of those kind of things.
Oh, and that was the funniest moment, by the way, because that I remember it was sort of that comedy of three thing where Eddie introduces himself. "Hi, my name is Eddie, and people call me Eddie or whatever." Rodney says, "Hi, my name is Rodney, but everyone calls me the Rodmeister." And I think Steve was the one that had the last line that sealed up and made me laugh so hard. I think he said something like, "Hi, my name is Steve, and I don't get many calls." It was the greatest thing ever. I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, he was. I remember, because he did come in, and so he started playing pool, and he was like, finger up to the wind. He goes, "Oh, wait, there's a harvest moon, and there's this, there's that." He's got a whole little ramp up before he got.
Oh yeah, Steve. Yeah.
No, he was great. He was very, like I said, very smart. Because I don't know, what was he, 10, 11 at that time?
I mean, this episode came out in 1990. So Jaleel being born in 1976. By the way, him and I share a birthday. We're both born on November 27th. Go figure.
Funny.
I know. But yeah, no. So I think he was maybe like 14, 15, something like that.
Okay. And what's funny is then, I guess, because his parents were there too.
I'm sure.
And I remember, meeting his dad, briefly, whatever. But his father was, he looked like he probably played professional football or something.
Wow.
He was a big guy, and I think he was like a dentist, he was. I think he was a dentist or a doctor or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So he came from, or he comes from a very educated, smart family. I'm surprised. I don't even know what he's doing now. Is he still in the entertainment business, or
Yeah, he is hosting a game show right now on the Game Show Network.
Oh, very fun. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if he became a doctor, lawyer, or something like that. Because
Did you remember talking to his dad or mom on set?
Yeah, just quickly, maybe just an introduction. Hi, how you doing? That was pretty much it.
Did they seem like did they seem like the typical like overprotective stage parents?
Not at all. No, they just seem like great. No, not at all. It seemed like very nice, normal people.
Right.
Yeah. It was all. It seemed like they were there to support their son, And this was his thing. And come on, he was shot out of a cannon on that show, man. He just showed up and took it to another level all the time, from what I could see.
Absolutely. We've had some guest stars talk about during that time, Reginald VelJohnson, who of course plays Carl Winslow, not being particularly happy that Jaleel was gradually becoming the star of the show. Did you sense that from Reginald, or was he just kind of like a professional?
Not at all. Not at all. No, he was a great guy. He was a real nice guy, and I actually worked later on. There was another actor that played one of the cops that worked with him. I can't remember that guy, but I worked with him on a JAG, one of those JAG shows.
Okay.
The Air Force thing. But no, he was great. He was, Reginald was good. I mean, I always liked him, remembered him probably from Die Hard.
Yeah.
That was big for me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think that was his like claim to fame before he got on Family Matters. And speaking of which, I mean, I think you did a Die Hard musical, a very Die Hard Christmas in L.A. and you played Hans Gruber, the Alan Rickman character. What was that experience like? And also, maybe, I mean, did you hear from Reginald? Did you hear from Bruce? Maybe they heard about that show? Or
no, did I hear? Wow, you feel like you must think like we're a really tight community here. No. It was fun. That's what I gotta say. Again, it was a musical parody of Die Hard, and yes, I got to play Hans Gruber, and who speaks with a British accent, not a German accent, by the way, through the whole movie. If you think about it, if you think about it, he's never kind of an upper crust British accent. He doesn't speak with a German accent.
Okay, so you kept that upper crust Britishness in the musical.
Yeah. And I'd never done a musical before, so it was a lot of fun. And for the that was a lot. But they're actually doing it again. I couldn't do it this year. I just had a conflict. But I'm trying to think the Reginald VelJohnson part in the musical, because it's wacky, is played by a snowman.
Oh,
like in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the animated one where they have the snowman. It's kind of and he has no feet and he walks. And that's the Reginald VelJohnson character.
So is this a parody of the Die Hard movie, or is this just like
a complete parody of the Die Hard movie? Yeah, and it follows the whole thing. I fall off the Nakatomi building at the end.
Right.
I got the wife hostage. Do the fun part. There's a whole song and dance. If you know the Die Hard movie, right?
Yeah.
There's the moment when Bruce Willis, John McClane, meets Hans Gruber on the roof, and Hans Gruber goes, "Oh no, don't kill me." No.
Yeah.
And they do this. And that's one of the great scenes in that movie. In the play, it's the same situation, except I could become kind of like Jerry Lewis instead of the killer German guy, Hey lady. Okay. And we do a whole song and dance number. Buddy, instead of it's cold outside, it's Buddy, you're gonna die outside. So
wow.
You sing this whole song and dance number, and we dance and we do this and da. And then of course I get my gun and I have it on him, and all that. But yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, that one.
So you mentioning that you've never been in a musical before, how did that work for you entering this kind of space for the first time? I mean, were you a natural singer? Like, what was the adjustment like?
The adjustment was I had to work my butt off. I had to work my ass off.
Did you have to do a lot of dance numbers?
Yeah, but they, the choreographer, she was fantastic, because you'd get down this dance. The whole beginning, I mean, did you see any pictures of it? I mean, you do a whole song and dance number with giant candy canes, stuff like this. I can't remember what it was. This song was too, but it was something. But this choreographer was very good, because she'd come in and she'd go, "Okay, here, you do this," and we rehearsed that for a little bit, and then she'd come in, a couple days later or whatever. Now that you got that down, well, let's add this, and then she added something else to this thing, and then so eventually she's got you really kind of doing a dance number. Instead of throwing it all at you at once. And I guess she was just trying to see your competence level. Okay, you can handle that. You can handle that. Okay, well, they keep adding more on. And the singing, I had a woman I went to, and I just, I sang with her privately, got her to help me out. And then I got the keys to the theater. I asked the the director producer if I could have the keys to the theater. And nobody's in the theater in the morning, the middle of the day. And I'd get there at like 9 in the morning and I'd sing my ass off and work on the dance numbers and, kept plugging away because I did not feel like I was a natural singer by any. I mean, I can carry it. I know when I'm off. How's that? I know when I'm bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just, I got a singing coach and I just kept singing until I got it pretty damn close.
I mean, it sounds like it went well. I mean, you were putting your hand over your face earlier as if you were embarrassed, but I'm sure it went pretty well.
No, it did. It did. It just I guess I wasn't sure how deep a dive you were doing and telling me on the internet.
No, it's just a credit that I saw on
What
IMDb.
else has he seen? What?
Yeah. No, so forgive me, but I'm still kind of like stuck on the Darius McCrary stand-in just dying all of a sudden. That is a story that I did not expect. So was there like at least one cast or crew member that like vocally objected the show going on regardless? No, everybody just kind of kept their frustrations to themselves.
I don't know if anyone was frustrated. I don't know if anyone was frustrated at all. It was, and you know what? It probably, I would say it was the right move. I mean, it happened, and yes, it was tragic. But like, what were you gonna do? It kind of like would have, I don't know, it would have prolonged the morning. It was a good thing to do. I mean, we did do it. The show was great. Everybody had a good time. And they put that nice card out for him. So I really think, I think it was the right call at the time. And I don't think anybody was, upset that they went through with it.
I wonder if there was any knowledge of this guy's health history, or was he upfront about that, like when he signed on to be the stand-in?
I didn't. I have no idea. Your guess isn't as good as mine. Yeah, but I know we didn't get. We didn't have what you would call like a dress rehearsal or something. Like say this happened at 10 or 11, and we would have had a dress rehearsal at 3 or 4, and then do the show at 8 o'clock or whatever it was that you would do it. But yeah, everyone were professional. Everyone was professional and just plugged on through. And like I said, they put up a very nice note to him at the end.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just my own personal thing. I die on the set. I want everyone to have the day off.
Yeah, I think, and I feel like that's something that would be accepted nowadays. I think back then it was more of a rigorous, like, let's just keep the show moving and keep this under wraps. But yeah, I think in today's age where we are becoming more aware of things that weren't quite so okay back then, I think it would have been more acceptable to at least have a day to process the sudden death of a stand-in.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the episode establishes that you put on this air of being this naive cowboy who doesn't know how to play pool against Eddie. And then, of course, you turn out to be this, I guess, normal American English talking pool hustler, maybe a little bit of New York accent to you.
Yeah.
So that, of course, builds up the tension. And then eventually you get beaten with the assistance of Carl and Grandmama Winslow. I know that you also have goons that are kind of assisting you along the way. One of them, I was actually almost going to interview today. I don't know if you remember, he had this very Andrew Dice Clay thing about him.
I do remember that guy. Yeah.
Michael Rapacelli.
I don't remember his name. What's his name?
Michael Rapacelli.
Yeah.
He made a joke about knowing exactly everything there is to know about Eddie, including the fact that his little sister Judy has a D in English. I don't know if you remember that.
That's funny.
Yeah, the audience loved that joke. Do you have any memories working with Michael Rapacelli or any of the other goons?
I can't say it. I can't say that I do. The one that I most remember working with was Jaleel.
And you had mentioned that he was a brilliant guy, and I wonder if you could elaborate more into that. I know you mentioned that he was like, sweaty and clearly not happy about the stand-in dying, not giving everybody.
Well, the stand-in was the one that was sweating. Was like sweating. Jaleel, we said he was sweaty. That was the stand-in. When I shook his hand, I
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh,
I
okay,
looked
so
at him.
Jaleel wasn't nervous at all.
No, no. And he was like I said, he, you think he's like a kid because he's small and he's 14 or whatever. But it was like having a conversation with an adult.
Really?
I mean, oh yeah, he was very aware, and he wasn't always. I mean, they were kids. I want to say that they were for sure, doing a little goofing around on set. I can't remember what, but they were having a good time. Everybody was, it was very loose and goosey. Everybody seemed like they liked each other. Like when you said about um, Reginald in some way being, nah, he liked it, and he had, yeah, he was playing the father. But yeah, I probably the most interaction I had was maybe with Reginald and with Jaleel.
Anything? Can you recall anything about what you may have talked about with Reginald in between takes?
Oh, I'm sure. Again, I talked about Die Hard.
Oh.
I talked about Die Hard.
Now, what did he have to say about it? What was he like? Pleasantly, was he like, "Oh my God, I'm so flattered that you recognize me from that," or has he been used to it at that point? Or
I think he was used to it at that point, and he was just like, "Yeah, that was a good one." And I think he might have mentioned Willis, and I don't remember exactly the context, but it was all positive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely all positive. And I mean, what's not to be happy about to be on a TV series that's doing well.
Right.
It's a hit.
I wonder, did a question come up about that transition from movies to television? Because I know, at that time, TV was considered inferior to movies, and now it's pretty much flipped, and you have like a lot of prestige television where you could argue that it's superior to the movies now. So I wonder if you ever talked to Reginald about like, oh, why go from Die Hard to this ABC family sitcom?
Oh, no, we never had a conversation like that. But I know, like you say, it has changed. I mean, and I don't know when that was, but it was slowly becoming. It has
2000s.
slowly become much better. Was it when Sean Penn was on Friends or something like that? Or Brad Pitt was on Friends. All of a sudden it becomes okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or shows like The Sopranos. It's like, okay, that's some quality stuff.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I do remember dating myself, but back when I started, yeah, it was like, oh, so and so would never do TV.
Right.
It would never, it was always like that.
Yeah.
But well, you've done it. The life of an actor, unless you're really have got some sort of name or something like that, you kind of do what you have to do, where what you're offered, and hopefully you can make it. If it's maybe not ideal, but you can make it a little better. The role of the part. I mean, I know there was a point where I felt that the roles I was getting, whether it was a guest star or something like that, you're not really getting to do much other than kind of push the story along.
Yeah.
They want you to come in and connect these dots for us. That's nice. I get it. That's probably why I continue to do theater. That's much more exciting to me. You're telling a story. You're telling a story for an hour and a half live in front of people, and you're getting an instant reaction. That's why I would think it's doing a 3-camera situation comedy is much more fulfilling than say doing a 1-hour dramatic series, because
Absolutely.
Okay, where are we today? Oh, we're here. Okay, but this scene happened 2 days ago, and then you're going to shoot. Everything's out of sequence. It's not the same. It's all being kind of cobbled together. Yeah, so I definitely know that the Family Matters show was a fun show to do.
Absolutely.
It didn't feel like you would be able to express yourself. Have a little talent, have a little fun.
Right.
Not just again pushing the story along.
So I'm, looking into your background, Tim, I had a few questions.
Okay.
At what point were you going to go into engineering and then you pivoted to modeling?
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, you did do a little bit of that. No, I was
just curious.
Well, I was when I went to college, Rutgers University in New Jersey. I was an engineering major for my first year, and although I was good at chemistry, calculus, and physics. I didn't enjoy it. And there were kids there that really enjoyed it. And so my sophomore year, I changed with the intent of going, I changed to become a history major with my intent of going to law school. I was going to go to law school, but while I was there, some guys I knew were taking an acting class because it was 4 credits and it was guaranteed you'd get an A. And I could use that to kind of boost up my cream. So I took an acting class and was like, oh, I kind of like this. And so I took a second class. And then by then it was like, I'm graduating. So while I was graduating, when I was graduating, I talked to my dog's book. I don't know if you can hear that.
That's okay. I have 4 dogs, so I get it.
Okay. So, as graduation time was coming up, I remember talking to one of the teachers there. And I had said to him, I said, so, let me ask you, do you think, I could do this? You think I could have some sort of, chance of doing this? And he was like, he said, well, yeah, I think, you'd have to study, you'd have to blah, blah, blah. But, you're a good looking guy. You should be a model. And I was like, can you make money doing it? And he was like, oh yeah, people make a lot of money. I had no idea. But then there was someone else that was in school with me, and she knew a photographer in New York. And she had said, yeah, I think you could do that. So she got a photographer, some young guy. We took some photos.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, what do I do with them? I didn't know anything. And they said, oh, go to this place, Zoli. It's a modeling agency in New York. It was like the top men's modeling agency in the world at the time. They have an open interview on like Tuesdays or something. So I went in there with a manila envelope and, 4 pictures or something like that. And there were people all over, lined up in there. And they had books like this thick with tear sheets, what they're called, from Italy, from France, and from Germany and Japan. And the guy's looking through the book and goes, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. And then I show up with my 4 pictures. And he looks at him and he goes, can you come back after lunch?
Wow.
Right. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Wow.
So the thing is that I don't think it was because I was any kind of, born Joey model or something like that. They like to discover people, like Hollywood. They like to discover somebody. So these other people that have been through all these countries, they've been around. I was some, fresh-faced guy that never. So now they could take you under their wing. Oh, look who we discovered. So that I shot with Bruce Weber, who was a big photographer at the time, and some of these other things. That was in this, whatever it was, but a couple of months later, I ended up in Italy. I'd never been on a plane before. I'd never been on a plane in my life. And all of a sudden they send me to Italy. And I'm in Italy and they've got me booked to work, the whole 3-4 weeks I'm there. It was December. It was like I showed up like right around Thanksgiving through just before Christmas and worked, had pictures, portfolio, and then, somebody from France met me and said, okay, come here. So I ended up, just snowball. But the thing was, I always wanted to be an actor. I didn't really want to be a model. But what it did for me was I had a portfolio of pictures and I could come to LA, which I did, and have a job.
Yeah.
And when I came out here, I shot, Sears and Macy's, and there were these other department stores and commercials and all that stuff. And I took all that money and I studied acting because I didn't have any training. But I took improv classes, I took comedy classes, I took scene study and, voice, whatever I could do. Because I had to cobble together a career, not a career, but a curriculum. Because you were competing with these other kids. Maybe had gone to Juilliard or gone to Yale or whatever. They knew they wanted to be an actress. They were in high school. I had no such thing, so I had to, like I said, put together kind of a curriculum of okay, how am I going to work? How am I going to learn what I'm doing here? And that's what I did. And eventually the modeling went away, and I became an actor.
So the modeling went away because the acting work, you got more and more of it, and the modeling just wasn't becoming as fulfilling.
Exactly. It was never fulfilling.
Yeah.
You just standing there taking pictures. It
Right.
made you money. But yeah, it was a lot of time and effort for not a lot of money, right? If you did a commercial back in those days, if I did one commercial, you could be set for half of the year, 6 months. Yeah. So and that was it. I did a ton of commercials. I was able to do Doritos. I was like the Doritos guy for a little while. Like you
Right.
did chips and sodas and all that, all
Right.
that eat and smile.
Right.
Drink beer and
Right.
whatever it was, all that stuff.
Right.
But again, all that money went into taking more acting classes. And yeah, I gotta, if you have time, a little story about that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'd been studying, and then I got that play, Bouncers. But I was the understudy. I only went on when the regular actor was working late on. He was on Dynasty or something like that.
Okay.
So I only went on when he was not able to make the night, but he wasn't able to make it a lot. Now this was only the second play I'd ever done. So the first play was like a little tiny play, a little black box theater in LA. Most nights there were more people on the stage than in the audience, right? So anyway, the second one I get, I'm an understudy. So I go and I'm the understudy, and the play was a huge hit, and it ended up going to New York. And when these guys all went to New York, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to jump because they were going to continue the run in LA. I'm going to jump into the spot. And the producers would have said, no, we're going to hire somebody. We'd like you to stay as the understudy. And I'm like, for you guys.
Yeah.
I've been working my butt off for this.
Yeah. You deserve better.
I deserved it. Exactly. So I went to New York, see my family, kind of lick my wounds, whatever. While I'm there, ex-girlfriend of mine calls to my family, and then gets in touch with me. What's been doing? Oh, he's here. So I go up and see her in Manhattan. I'm on Staten Island. I go up and see her in Manhattan. She says, "Hey, bring a headshot with you. Why not?" I'm okay, and I bring a headshot. So she's working for the New York Daily News.
Oh.
She's working with the Daily News. She talks to me, interviews me, basically puts me in page 3 or page 6, whatever it is.
Yeah.
There, my picture and a little story about me because I had been on the list to become a New York City fireman.
Huh.
My dad is in New York City, or retired now, but New York City
Right.
fireman. And
Right.
I got on the list. I turned it down to continue with the acting stuff. Anyway, so put this little bit of that, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a play in New York on Broadway called Coastal Disturbances. They see my picture. They see this article. They go, would he come in and audition to replace the guy which was Tim Daly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course.
Tim Daly.
Yeah.
It was Tim Daly and Annette Bening. Would you come in to audition for it? Now, I am on Staten Island, and it's like Friday at like noon, and I'm like, it takes an hour and a half. I got to take the train and then the ferry and then a subway. I can't make it. I'm sorry. Hang up. Then they call back. Could you come in tomorrow?
Oh,
Audition for us. I say, sure. They go, can you come in at 3 o'clock? Oh. I said, sure, because I'm already going to be there. 3 o'clock. I said, I can't. I have tickets for the matinee of Driving Miss Daisy with Morgan Freeman. I can't. I have these tickets. You go, all right. We call back. Will you come in after the show, 5, 6 o'clock, whatever it is, and come up and audition? Sure, I will. So I go into the city that night. I go to the theater. I grab the sides. This is all before, emails and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I have to go right there. I see a little bit of the show. I take it. I go back to my friend's place. I sit and I study it all night long. Study. I go see Driving Miss Daisy, Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
I'm chugging Pepto-Bismol while I'm watching it.
Oh, no.
And then, oh yeah, come on, this was a big deal. I leave. I tell my buddy, I go, look, I'm going to go to this audition, and I'll see you after. And it was right near his apartment. His apartment was like 73rd in Columbus, and it was 76th in Broadway, uptown Circle and Square. So I go up there. I audition. I come back. I go back to his apartment, and I go, I think I got this. Bang! The phone rings. You got it. You go on in 10 days.
Oh my God.
It's the lead. I've got to learn this show in 10 days.
And you managed to make that happen.
I managed to make that happen. And the other thing, because if you know the show, well, you don't know the show.
I don't know. Yeah, what is it about?
It's about a lifeguard who is on this beach, and this girl was the Annette Bening role. She's up there. She's up there to kind of mend a broken heart from her. She's a photographer, from her European boyfriend who has cheated on her or something like that. So they meet. They fall in love. So I meet her. We fall in love, and then she She leaves me in the end, and my heart gets broken. But it was this whole thing, and there's all these characters on the beach. It's wonderful, wonderful play. Tina Howe is the playwright. And in that show, she had a scene called the medicine man scene. One of the little kids gets a piece of glass in their foot, and I have to take it out. And I have to distract the kid to take it out. So she had written a whole little scene of him doing, little voices and things and stuff.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I said, to the director, I said, I kind of have an ability to do a lot of voices and characters and stuff. I've got an idea for this. Can I do that? Can I do my own thing? And they said, well, why don't you show us? Come back tomorrow and show us what you'd want to do. And it was the director and Tina Howe. And so I do the whole thing. And I brought in, Captain Kirk and Peter Lorre, and I'm doing all this stuff. And then when I'm done, Tina Howe, the writer, looks at me and she goes, "Oh, I think that's beautiful. It's exactly in the spirit of the medicine man. Yes, do that."
Oh, man.
And so I was on my first Broadway show, only the third play I'd ever done, and I also wrote a little bit of it.
That's quite a story. Love that.
Yeah, it was great. I did the show. I stopped counting after 100 shows. I wanted to do 100, and I did 100.
And then you left the run.
No, I kept going. I just kept going. I mean, I stopped counting after 100.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because 8 shows a week, yeah, it'll
build up pretty quick. Yeah.
Yep. It's a grind. So I now know the trajectory from like almost getting into engineering seriously to modeling to acting. Where does your stand-up work fall into all of this? Because I saw you did some stand-up comedy on your IMDb, and I was like, oh, this is fantastic.
That was just really, the stand-up comedy was I had to do stand-up actually for a role. I had done a.
Oh, so is this a one-time thing? Is this not a regular thing?
No, it's not a regular thing, but I've done stand-up probably half a dozen times. And it's only because, one was because I played, it was a miniseries, Lucky Chances, one of those, I can't remember the writer's name, Joan Collins, her sister, whatever, Joan Collins was the actress, it was something Collins.
Yeah, I vaguely remember,
Yeah. So I had to play Lenny Golden as a stand-up comic. So I had a friend, I had plenty of friends who were comics, and I had a friend, I said, I got to do this, get me on some places. So we got together, we wrote a couple of bits, and then I went around town and did stand-up. And then the one that's on my IMDb, or on my own page, you could see it. That was because there's a guy out here that teaches stand-up. And friends of mine were doing it, actually. It was John Bennett Perry, who is Matthew Perry's father.
Yeah.
And John Bennett Perry and another guy, David, I can't remember David's last name, but John, David, and Matthew were going to do this stand-up class. Well, Matthew got something and couldn't do it. So they said, you want to do it? It's paid for. I did the class, and then I did the improv. Afterwards, you write 10 minutes into it. And I liked it enough that I took the class again, and I wrote another 10 minutes, and I did it. Yeah, it's fun. I have a lot of friends that are stand-ups, and it's a grind, man.
Sure.
I couldn't do that staying up late at night, and
I wonder if there is a certain spontaneity and immediacy from the audience reaction that you get from theater that like makes you like the stand-up improv scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've done a couple of one-man shows too, and so that's you get up there for an hour and talk to the audience and tell a story. That's what I like to do. I kind of found out of all these years is tell stories.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, you've clearly told a lot of stories in your work, and I appreciate you for speaking with me for the last hour. It's been great.
Has it been an hour? Oh man,
I know it's going by so fast. I know. So Tim Ryan, for anybody who wants to dive into more of you or keep in touch with you, I mean, is there a social media that you want to share with us? Is there a website you want to share with us?
Yeah. What's my website? You're putting me on the spot here.
It's okay. I mean, social media website.
Tim Ryan, either on Instagram or Tim Ryan Lionel Schmidt on Facebook. And I do have a website. If I could tell you what that is. It's Tim Ryan New York to LA.
Okay, that's your website.
That's the website. Tim Ryan New York to LA.com.
Tim Ryan, the number 2.
Number 2. and then New York spelled out.
LA.com.
Yep. Tim Ryan,
Okay.
New York to LA.com. There it is.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'll tell you,
appreciate it.
You meet Jaleel. Tell him
About that story?
we talked. Yeah.
I
He'll
will.
remember.
I will. I really want to see
He'll
his
remember.
reaction.
Oh, yeah, because actually there was something a couple of years ago that my wife was doing. My wife works in marketing and advertising, and it was like a ping pong tournament. It was just activity, ping pong fit. Anyway, he was there, and she saw him, and she said, "Oh, my husband done it." He goes, "Oh yeah, I remember him." Yeah,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's great.
yeah.
Have a great rest of your night. I'll keep in touch with you via
Thank you.
email, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, man.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Tim Ryan. That is very awesome. Search Tim Ryan, IMDb. Look for a very handsome, salt and peppery man that looks as close as possible to Boyd Higgins from that Family Matters episode, Fast Eddie Winslow, and you'll know who I'm talking about. He's a fantastic gentleman. Now, for you listening, please follow us, The Delicious Recap. We are on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, Threads, YouTube. Literally search The Delicious Recap. You'll find us. You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. And please tell a friend, a family member about this show if you are into the awesomeness that is Family Matters. We appreciate all the word of mouth that we can get. And I think that's about it. Usually, again, Andrew signs off with some fantastic let deliciousness ring or scramble. I am going to just go straight forward with it and say, let deliciousness ring.